Ladies and gentlemen, life as we know it is a complex interplay of emotions, choices, and relationships. Among these, one of the most profoundly human experiences is rejection, a word that carries with it the weight of vulnerability, pain, and introspection. We all, at some point in our lives, encounter moments where someone we valued, trusted, or admired did not see us in the same light. It stings, it echoes, and often it reshapes how we perceive ourselves and others. But have you ever noticed how life has its own peculiar sense of irony? How sometimes the very person who once turned away, who perhaps doubted your worth or dismissed your presence, comes back, sometimes with apologies, sometimes with rekindled interest, and other times with no explanation at all. This phenomenon may leave us puzzled, emotionally stirred, or even bitterly amused. But today, let us step beyond the surface of this experience. Let us delve into it with the lens of Stoicism, a philosophy that champions reason over emotion, wisdom over impulsiveness, and perspective over reaction. For Stoicism teaches us that while the actions of others may be beyond our control, our response to them is always within our power. When we are rejected, it is easy to feel as though our value has been diminished, as if someone else's decision has reduced our worth to a fleeting moment of insignificance. But in truth, rejection often says more about the one who rejects than it does about the one being rejected. It reflects their fears, uncertainties, and judgments, shaped by their own circumstances and perceptions. Stoicism reminds us that we cannot base our self-worth on the shifting sands of someone else's opinion. The value of a diamond does not diminish because someone fails to recognize its brilliance. Its worth remains intrinsic and unchanged. When that person returns, it is not an automatic validation of your worth, nor does it undo the pain of their prior dismissal. Instead, their return is a moment of reflection. Why now? Why, after turning away, have they sought to come back? The Stoic approach encourages us not to get swept away by the flattery or the frustration such moments may provoke, but to observe with detachment. We are reminded of Marcus Aurelius' wisdom: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Their return may be fueled by many things: regret, nostalgia, or perhaps an awakening to the qualities they once overlooked. It may stem from their own insecurities or a realization that what they dismissed was in fact significant. But their motives are their own to reconcile. What matters is how we choose to respond, and here lies the beauty of Stoic wisdom. It teaches us that our peace of mind does not depend on whether they return or stay away. It resides in our ability to remain steadfast, unshaken by the fleeting opinions and actions of others. Ladies and gentlemen, rejection is not the end of the narrative, it is merely a chapter. And when someone re-enters your story, it is not necessarily an invitation to pick up where things left off. It is an opportunity to assess, with clarity and composure, whether their return aligns with the values and principles you have cultivated in their absence. In the grand theater of life, each of us plays our role. The choices of others are beyond our control, but how we carry ourselves, how we face rejection, how we embrace self-worth, and how we respond to the unexpected return of those who once doubted us, that is where our true strength lies. As Stoics, we learn not to cling to the highs nor despair in the lows, but to find steadiness amidst the fluctuations. Whether the person who once rejected you comes back or not, your journey, your growth, and your value are not contingent on their actions. They are yours to define, nurture, and celebrate. Life has a peculiar way of testing us, doesn't it? In this intricate web of human connections and emotions, we encounter moments that leave lasting impressions. Some of those moments elevate us, filling our hearts with joy and confidence. Others, however, humble us, challenge us, and sometimes even wound us. Among these experiences, rejection stands as one of the most profound. It is a universal human experience, one that every person in this room can relate to in some form. Rejection is that moment when we offer something of ourselves, our love, our trust, our aspirations, only to have it declined or dismissed. It is deeply personal, profoundly humbling, and often a catalyst for self-reflection. Yet, within this experience lies a paradox, one that many of you may have encountered in your lives. The person who once rejected you, who turned away or doubted your value, later tries to come back. This phenomenon can leave us bewildered. Why, we wonder, does this happen? Why do those who once dismissed us return, often with remorse, regret, or longing? Today I invite you to explore this question with me, not through the lens of bitterness or cynicism, but with the clarity and wisdom that Stoicism provides. Stoicism as a philosophy is not about denying the realities of human emotion. Instead, it teaches us how to master them. It guides us toward a life of virtue, resilience, and inner peace, regardless of the external circumstances we face. And so, when we confront the reality of rejection, and later the return of those who once rejected us, Stoicism offers us tools to navigate these situations with dignity, composure, and understanding. Let us begin by addressing the experience of rejection itself. When we are rejected, it is natural to feel hurt, confused, or even betrayed. These emotions arise because we often tie our sense of worth to how others perceive us. But Stoicism reminds us that our value is not determined by external validation. The Roman philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In other words, rejection is not a reflection of your worth, but rather an opportunity to reflect on your own character and growth. When someone rejects you, it is not necessarily about you. It is often about them, their fears, insecurities, and limitations. Perhaps they were unable to recognize your value, or perhaps they were not in a place to appreciate what you had to offer. Stoicism teaches us to separate what is within our control, our actions, thoughts, and choices, from what is not, such as the actions and opinions of others. By doing so, we can free ourselves from the unnecessary burden of taking rejection personally. Now, let us turn our attention to the second half of this paradox, the return of those who once rejected us. Why does this happen? Why do people who once doubted us, dismissed us, or walked away from us suddenly find their way back into our lives? The reasons, as you might expect, are complex and varied. One possibility is that they have undergone a change of perspective. Time has a way of altering our perceptions and priorities. The person who rejected you may have come to realize that what they once dismissed was in fact valuable. They may have grown, matured, or gained clarity about what truly matters to them. This realization can lead them to seek reconciliation or a second chance. Another possibility is that their circumstances have changed. Life is unpredictable, and the choices we make are often influenced by the situations we find ourselves in. The person who rejected you may have faced challenges, losses, or experiences that caused them to reevaluate their decisions. In their search for stability or connection, they may turn to you, recognizing the strength, kindness, or authenticity you embody. It is also worth considering that their return may be driven by regret. As human beings, we are prone to making decisions that we later come to regret. The person who rejected you may have acted out of fear, impulsiveness, or misunderstanding, and now seeks to make amends. However, regardless of their reasons, Stoicism teaches us that their return is not the defining factor of your worth or your journey. The question is not why they have returned, but how you choose to respond. When someone who once rejected you comes back, it can be tempting to view their return as validation. But Stoicism reminds us that true validation comes from within. Your worth is not determined by their change of heart, nor is it diminished by their past rejection. Instead, your worth is intrinsic, independent of external opinions or actions. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In this moment of their return, you have a choice. You can choose to embrace their return with grace and understanding, recognizing that people are capable of growth and change. Or you can choose to set boundaries, prioritizing your own well-being and values. Either way, the choice is yours, and it should be guided by wisdom, not emotion. Stoicism encourages us to view these moments as opportunities for reflection and growth. What have you learned from the experience of rejection? How have you grown in their absence? And most importantly, does their return align with the life and values you have cultivated? Ladies and gentlemen, life is full of paradoxes and uncertainties. The people who come and go in our lives teach us lessons about resilience, self-worth, and the impermanence of human relationships. But through it all, Stoicism reminds us to remain steadfast, to focus on what is within our control, and to live a life of virtue and purpose. Rejection is not the end of your story, nor is the return of those who rejected you a validation of your worth. Your story is yours to write, and your worth is yours to define. Let us embrace the wisdom of the Stoics, finding strength in our own character, and peace in the knowledge that we are enough, just as we are. Understood. I'll expand the speech to a truly monumental length while maintaining its depth, clarity, and emotional resonance. I'll add more layers, real-life examples, Stoic principles, and illustrative stories to keep it engaging while diving even deeper into the topic. This will be a long-form philosophical narrative-style speech, easily surpassing the requested character length. Life is in many ways a dance between our expectations and reality. It is a journey where we continuously navigate the spaces between triumph and loss, joy and sorrow, connection and rejection. Among these, rejection is one of the most challenging and humbling experiences we face. It is deeply personal, it stings, and it has the uncanny ability to linger in the recesses of our minds long after the moment has passed. Yet life has its own sense of irony. Sometimes those who once dismissed, doubted, or walked away from us find their way back into our lives. And when this happens, we are faced with questions that challenge our growth, our understanding of self-worth, and our grasp of human relationships. Why does this happen? Why do those who once rejected us often return, sometimes with apologies, other times with no explanation at all? To address this, let us turn to a philosophy that has withstood the test of time, Stoicism. Stoicism, a school of thought founded in the ancient world, provides us with tools to navigate the complexities of life with wisdom, grace, and resilience. At its core, Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and responses, and to let go of what lies beyond our control. When applied to the themes of rejection and the return of those who once rejected us, Stoicism offers profound insights that can guide us toward clarity and inner peace. Let us first examine the nature of rejection itself. When someone rejects us, be it in love, friendship, or opportunity, it often feels as though a part of our identity has been denied. We may question our worth, replay the moment in our minds, and wonder what we could have done differently. But here is the truth. Rejection is not about you. It is not a reflection of your value, your character, or your potential. Instead, rejection is often a mirror of the other person's state of mind, their priorities, and their circumstances. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, wisely observed, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When we face rejection, we have a choice. We can allow it to define us, to cloud our judgment and diminish our self-esteem. Or we can view it as an opportunity for growth, a chance to cultivate resilience and self-awareness. Rejection, in many ways, is a gift. It strips away illusions, forcing us to confront our vulnerabilities and reassess our priorities. It is in these moments of vulnerability that we often discover our true strength. When someone rejects us, they are not closing the door on our worth, they are simply revealing their inability or unwillingness to recognize it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is not your burden to bear. Now let us turn our attention to the second part of this paradox, the return of those who once rejected us. It is a phenomenon that raises many questions and stirs a range of emotions. Why do they return? Is it a sign of regret, a realization of what they lost, or something else entirely. The reasons, as you might imagine, are complex and varied. One reason people return is that time and perspective often bring clarity. Life has a way of teaching us lessons we cannot learn in the moment. The person who once rejected you may have come to realize that what they dismissed was, in fact, of great value. They may have matured, gained wisdom, or experienced situations that caused them to reevaluate their choices. In this sense, their return can be seen as a reflection of their growth rather than a commentary on your worth. Another reason for their return may be regret. As human beings, we are prone to making impulsive decisions that we later come to regret. The person who rejected you may have acted out of fear, uncertainty, or a lack of understanding, and now seeks to make amends. But here is the key: their regret does not define your worth. Stoicism teaches us to approach such situations with detachment and clarity. When someone who once rejected you returns, it is not an automatic validation of your value, nor is it a guarantee of their sincerity. Instead, it is an opportunity for reflection. What has changed? What do you seek in this moment? And most importantly, does their return align with the life and values you have cultivated in their absence? Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, reminds us, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. When faced with the return of someone who once rejected you, it is essential to approach the situation with clarity and wisdom. Do not allow flattery or frustration to cloud your judgment. Instead, ask yourself, does this relationship, this connection, align with the person I have become? Ladies and gentlemen, rejection and the return of those who once rejected us are not merely experiences to be endured. They are opportunities for growth, for reflection, and for the cultivation of wisdom. When someone rejects you, it is not the end of your story. It is merely a chapter, one that shapes your journey but does not define it. And when someone returns, it is not a validation of your worth, nor is it an obligation to rekindle what once was. It is a moment to assess, to reflect, and to choose. For you have the power to decide what role, if any, they will play in your life moving forward. Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies not in the opinions or actions of others, but in our own ability to remain steadfast, virtuous, and composed. Whether someone rejects you or returns to you, your worth remains unchanged. Your value is intrinsic, independent of external validation or circumstances. As we navigate the complexities of human relationships, let us carry with us the wisdom of the Stoics. Let us embrace rejection as an opportunity for growth and approach the return of others with clarity and composure. For in doing so, we not only honor our own worth, but also cultivate the strength and wisdom to face whatever life may bring. Thank you.